spins right, comes back left. Nani shoots. Oh my goodness, Luis Nani! Here goes Daryl DK at Warmhorn. DK shoots, scores! DK wins it for Orlando! The biggest man in MLS comes up huge!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lions Blog Podcast. This is part 3, finally, in the 3-part series where we scout our draft picks. So we already looked at Jack Lynn. Adam and I did him together. And then we looked at Nathan DeSantos, me and Eddie over at Orlando Lions Den Podcast. Looked at him as well. And now here today with me to discuss Nick Taylor, our 3rd-round draft pick out of UCF, is Dan. How you doing today, Dan?
Not too bad. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So Dan's obviously, if you do not know, you should know, honestly, but from the English Lion. So do you want to go ahead and talk to the viewers and the listeners about what the English Lion is if they don't know?
Yeah. So basically, I do pre-match and sort of post-match analysis for Orlando City and the Orlando Pride. Started it sort of kind of pre-COVID, and it took off and done fairly well. People seem to like reading what I write. But yeah, you can find me at the English Lion 1 on Twitter, and then it's theenglishlion.net is the website.
And then you're doing some other writing as well, right? Recently.
Yeah. I've just for any kind of women's soccer fans who are watching, an organisation called Sporting Her. I'm now the NWSL writer for them. So if you go to @Sporting Her on Twitter, you can see some of my stuff.
Good stuff, man. Really good stuff. I really enjoy your analysis and your writing. I think we see the game a similar way, where it's like we want to analyze what we're seeing tactically versus just goal sort of thing. So all right. So obviously here to talk Nick Taylor, left winger, left back. Were the 2 positions that he played in college mainly. We can kind of see in the video that we're going to start with here that he gets moved around the pitch a bit. So at one point he's over on the right wing, and then near the end before he gets substituted, it looks like he's literally playing like a right center mid or a left center mid role, popping up in many different positions. So what do you think we're going to see from Nick Taylor if he even makes the team? Where do you think his final place on the depth chart lies if he does make the team?
So it's difficult to tell, really, because obviously I kind of went into this with a bit of a blank slate, not really knowing who he was. But when you sort of break our roster down at the minute, I wonder whether he'll provide competition at left back. Obviously, we've got João Moutinho, who's probably going to start every week, but he kind of offers something a little bit different from the footage we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like Moutinho is more of a cross it from deep kind of guy who would look to sort of play inside and interchange, whereas Taylor looks more comfortable on the overlap and making those inverted runs as well. So, yeah, I wonder if we'll see him there, especially with Facundo Torres and people like that coming in. It's kind of difficult to see where he's going to get in a more advanced area.
Yeah, that could be the case. Maybe like oh shoot, we're losing, we need to throw the kitchen sink at it, let's get some fresh legs at left back, but really he's going to be like a left wing back sort of thing to push up and create chances out wide and see what we can do. That's interesting. I haven't thought of that. I've been of the mind that, and we will see this in the highlight videos that we're about to pull up now, that he would be like an Alvarado option, like to overtake Alvarado's place in the squad in terms of minutes, maybe even less games played. Alvarado played 10 matches last season, but obviously only started the 1. But can play on both sides and possibly fill in at left back if necessary. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Let me go ahead and share my screen. The first one we're going to look at is it is his game against Memphis, and I should preface this with these are all of his major actions against Memphis. They win the game 6-0, but and it's a semifinal. But earlier in the season, Memphis actually beat UCF 3-0. So I don't know what happened with Memphis, but the commentator was talking about how this was such a surprise near the end, considering Memphis, beat UCF and was the better team on the day, clearly. Was no accident that they won 3-0. So Nick Taylor's going to be number 11 here on the left side. So let's go ahead and get into these. We got a long video here, and then after this, we're going to do a highlight video. So we're just going to go through them just one time. So this first clip is going to be him just sprinting back. He starts at the left wing position, by the way. So here he is on the ball. So not a great pass there. And this one is him taking the shot. And so the first thing right away, as we go back here, I want to ask you about is in this clip, he's making a pass with his right foot and taking a shot with his right foot, but he's also very left-footed. Or I shouldn't say very left-footed, but he can do he's very comfortable using either foot. So I wanted to ask you about his kind of ambidextrous footedness, and do you see that as a positive trait that could see him make the team?
Yeah, I definitely see that as a positive. What I felt was interesting.
Left foot. Sorry,
what I felt was no worries. What I felt was interesting to know, especially, and you see it quite a few times in these in the videos we're going to go through, is he kind of roams around a bit in forward areas, which I quite like. If you think of some of the players we've had in the past, Nani in particular, who would just kind of drift and kind of go wherever the game sort of allowed him to. I quite like that, because it keeps opposition defenses guessing. Whereas sometimes, you can have players that are just a bit static in terms of, I'm a right winger, so I'm going to stay on the right wing. Whereas this actually kind of keeps us going. And we've never really been a team that's had what I would call like touchline wingers that just hug the touchline and whip crosses in. We've always kind of had those more inverted wingers. So I quite like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, keep going. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say as well, obviously, with just touching on him being able to use his right foot and his left foot, obviously that does help when you go into more central areas. You can use both feet, and obviously out wide as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely a positive.
Yeah, I really like his technique and his ability to use both feet. That's not something you see every day with players. And so one thing I just wanted to stop the video for is two reasons. First, on one of the clips, you saw like a little comment. This video was actually, I think he's a Brazilian YouTuber, and he will stream these games. So that's how I actually found this game. And I think it's because the UCF striker is Brazilian. So I think that there's some interest there in him. So there'll be like a video of the guy popping up and talking and responding to comments one time, I think. And obviously the branding over here for StreamYard. And then the other thing is Nick Taylor here is going to take this corner, and he's very good at set pieces. But after this corner is when he gets shifted out to the right wing. So as soon as he takes this corner, he stays on the right. So just navigate your eyes to the right side of the pitch now after this corner. But it's a very good delivery that nearly gets a goal. And there's a couple times in his highlight clips and in this game alone where he's got really good set piece delivery. So if he were to somehow be on the pitch, that could be someone we could use. So here's the guy that I was talking about. The next kind of topic I want to talk about with Taylor is he's very comfortable on the ball when dribbling it. So obviously we talked about his right and left footedness, but technically he looks very, very comfortable. And that's something that it doesn't matter whether he's in college or MLS, how comfortable he's going to be on the ball. The big thing is how he's going to cope with the increased speed of play going from MLS to or going from college to MLS. How do you think he may cope with that increase in play?
Yeah, and that's the acid test with most of our draft picks, hasn't it? Just kind of adapting to pro play. I mean, he seems athletic and he seems quite nimble on his feet as well. And also one thing I noticed about him technically, which I feel like could help, especially in a league as fast-paced as the MLS, is the technique when he strikes the ball. He kind of cuts under the ball and almost hits it with the outside of his foot, which when you're kind of like surrounded by a couple of defenders and you can... There's one clip, I think we'll see it later on, where he kind of just lifts it past the defender. Like that sort of close technique and that close ball control is really going to help him out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't pick up on that, so I'm gonna keep an eye on that. But yeah, I think you're right. He is nimble. He is quick. He looks very comfortable on the ball, which I like. I think if he were to be, that's kind of why I think he could be a left winger, but also maybe even a left back. You could be right in your assessment of where we could see him this season if he does make the squad. Here he is. He's going to put in another dangerous corner here. Going back to what you said, left backs have a little bit more time than possibly a left winger. So I wonder if he could be kind of a backup option or a third string option at left back. The other thing about left back, though, is I said it in the Gaston Gonzalez video. I'm sure you haven't had time to watch it. I posted it last night. That João Moutinho in the preseason friendly or the preseason scrimmage that a lot of season ticket holders were able to go to was playing as more of like a left center back in build up.
Okay.
And so usually he's overlapping, right? He's usually high up the pitch. But some fans saw that he was more in build up the left center back role. Do you think that's something that Nick Taylor would be able to do, or not really? If that is the style of play we go with,
in terms of him playing a left-sided centre back
in build up, yeah. So the 3-2-5 sort of thing.
It's difficult to say, really. I wouldn't say so necessarily, just based off of the clips that I've seen. But then again, I think in modern day football now, it's so important to be flexible and have players that can play several positions. So it might be something that you could do. I've always kind of wondered whether we'll ever move to a 3-4-3, because actually when I look at our squad, I feel like that's the formation that suits us. So with you saying that about Moutinho, I do wonder whether we'll look at a 3-man defence at some point, and then I don't know, just something to keep an eye on, I guess.
I think starting lineup wise, 3-4-3 could be a really good option for us. I don't know about our depth though, especially at defense, because we're looking at right now, we got our Carlos and Janssen and Schlegel, who I think would all be fine and really good in a back three. I don't really see any issues there. But then behind them, you're looking at Dos Santos, Williams.
Yeah.
And is that it?
Not a whole lot of depth there, is there?
Yeah. So we'd have to bring in another
centre back.
Yeah.
I literally only say this, by the way, because it worked out really well on my Football Manager save. It's probably English.
I'm sure you bought a centre back though or something. So we shall see. But overall, the main thing for me with Nick Taylor is technique. Comfortable on the ball, definitely. Willing to help out. He does press a lot in the midfield. Did you notice that at all? That defensively he is willing to help out?
Yeah. There's quite a few clips in this video of him sort of tracking back and tracking runners and stuff like that. I mean, it's something that Oscar Pereira demands, isn't it? So it was good to see that, and I'm sure that's something they'll have probably looked at too.
And then this next clip, I just wanted to, there's really nothing other than, but this is just such a good first touch. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. That just goes to technique sort of thing and puts his player in a good position. That's the kind of thing that I really like And that draws me to players like him because my way of viewing the game is I really like technical players. That obviously wasn't great, weird bounce, but technical players, two-footed players really draw my attention, and that's why I've been so like, oh, I love Nick Taylor, but other people are probably like, he's doing this in college. Now, again, that's a really good first touch, nearly gets an assist. This is the type of player I like. Now, for other people, may not be their cup of tea. But, that's just because we all view the game so differently. Yeah. So I'm high on him. I think he could make the squad. So here he is near the end of the game being in that center mid position, trying those long distance passes. The next thing I wanted to ask you about, Dan, is he is kind of old. Maybe not for you, your terms in terms of old, but for a player, he's this is just him getting subbed out. I believe he's 23, turning 24. Yeah. And he was a master. I think he was a master's transfer to UCF. So he kind of has to hit the ground running a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's always been one of the really interesting things about the US college system for me. I mean, obviously you do get exceptions, like Daryl Dike being one who was really young when he came through. But you see it quite often, they're 22, 23 coming through and starting your professional career, whereas in most countries you probably start that 5 or 6 years earlier. He probably does, to be honest. I think you're probably right there. We'll just have to see how it goes, really. I mean, he does look like he has the technical ability. It was interesting at the end of that last clip that we just watched, the long pass that he made into the penalty area. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier, that if you look at the shape of his foot when he makes contact with the ball, he almost hits it with the outside of his foot on an instep and kind of just really digs it. That's what I found really interesting. I love that sort of player, that technical player who can just kind of pick a pass out of nowhere. And, we'll just go back to what you were saying about him doing it in college and stuff like that. The technique's still the same, whether it's college, whether it's MLS, whether it's the World Cup final.
Yeah, he could do that in MLS. That literal highlight video, that's something he could do in MLS.
It's just like you say, getting used to not having as much time on the ball, doing it in front of crowds. It's that kind of thing, really. Whereas actually, if he's 23 years old, that might help him a little bit. You're a little bit more mature when you're 23 than when you're sort of 17, 18, naturally, aren't you?
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I was thinking, the younger the better, but it could help him in transition to life as a professional player. That's a good point.
Yeah, there's different ways of looking at it, I suppose, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It all just depends on the person, really.
Yeah. I'm looking at his head there in this clip. And he seems to be looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up. Clearly he's good on the ball. He's going to have to keep his head up as much as possible. Here he is keeping his head up. Okay, that's a bit better. Yeah. He's just, to me, overall, an interesting prospect. He obviously our front office really likes versatile players who play multiple positions, which is another reason why I think he could make the roster. We could have a backup left winger, backup right winger, and a backup left back all in one player for a cheap cost. Not taking up an international slot. I mean, that's why I think he could possibly make up the roster. What do you think overall about the roster? Are you happy with it?
I wouldn't say I'm 100% happy with it. I think there's still a couple of areas that I would like to see us improve. Obviously, we had good news today. Ercan Kara's injury doesn't seem to be as bad as perhaps we first thought. Left back's a worry for me, if I'm being honest. Also centre back, not in terms of the starting. We'll have Antonio Carlos, Robin Jansen, Schlegel, but if one of those gets injured that I'm a bit concerned about that. And I feel like we could probably. It looks like we're going to get Gaston Gonzalez, but I feel like we could probably do with another winger / forward. And then I think we'd be pretty much there, to be honest. Midfield, I'm really happy with. Right back, I'm really happy with. Striker, I'm pretty happy with, as long as Pato stays fit. Obviously, we've got him and Kara, Tesho's knocking around, and Jack Lynn looks pretty useful from what we've seen of him so far. So, yeah, what do you think about it?
I'm pretty happy. There's a couple of starting positions where we could improve. Obviously, I think we could get a better and more reliable left back. I don't know if we have the funds or international spots for that, to be quite honest. I think we might be going into the season with the hope and going into a season, you have to have risks somewhere. And I think maybe the front office feels that they can risk João Moutinho being healthy for a decent portion of the season.
Yeah.
And with Kyle Smith as cover and possibly Dos Santos or Nick Taylor. Or there's a left back in the works that we don't know about right now. There is a certain Donny Toya on the who's a free agent right now. Maybe he comes back.
I mean, why not?
Seriously.
Let's go.
Somebody. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the roster. I'm really interested to see how we play this season, or how we want to play this season. And because there's some rumblings that we want to play a slightly different style of soccer. But overall, pretty happy with it. Going back to Nick Taylor, who we're here to talk about, close control is what this clip, here he is right here, my bad. Kind of close control in tight areas. That's another thing that would translate to MLS. Now, obviously, the player in this clip who comes, this guy right here, would be 3 steps closer to him. So again, that's where we kind of look at, can he translate it to the professionals? Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting to me is his off the ball movement is quite intelligent, especially for someone that hasn't played professionally yet.
Yes, that's a great point.
He often he'll play a pass and he instantly knows where his next move's going to be. And he doesn't necessarily go for the obvious pass. So that's a prime example there. Rather than kind of whipping the ball into the 6-yard box, he's cut it back, knowing that there's going to be runners from midfield. He just
into the dangerous space.
He almost seems too good to be a 3rd-round pick, to be honest, in my opinion, just based off of these clips.
2 things there. One, you pointed out something that I when I first watched him, I caught on to, but I completely forgot about since we've started talking. Spacing-wise, he's really good with holding the width, holding on the left side. So he's over there. But that first one that you were talking about where he was on the wing, he's literally on the touch line holding the width and not collapsing in too early. Then the second bit about being a 3rd-round draft pick, again, this is a player I really like. I'm clearly biased towards him based on the kind of player he is. I think we might have gotten a steal here. I personally think we could have, because the technique, the body, the speed, that's good right there. But I want people to look past the 3rd-round tag of him. And maybe we said, we really like this kid. He's local. We're going to hope that he doesn't get picked. We don't think he will. And we think we can get someone useful here. So here he is kind of holding that width again. Because the ball, if you look here, is moving out to the left side, and he's already out there.
Yeah.
So he probably didn't have to move out there, and then that's just a good cross. So you feel that way as well. We could have possibly gotten in somebody pretty good for 3rd-round level of draft pick.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be interesting to see the ages of all of the other draft picks. I don't know that off the top of my head, but
neither do I.
You kind of you do wonder whether his age came into it a little bit, which is perhaps why he fell as low as he did.
Yeah, that's a good point as well about the age. He
Yeah.
seems to be able to pick out a pass as well in these areas like you were talking about.
Yeah.
He seems to do it pretty consistently. But age,
It's intelligent. He looks like you saw it there. He's straight away, his head's up and he's looking who's where, rather than I think sometimes some wingers just have a tendency just to whip the ball in as soon as it comes to them. Just you almost hit and hope sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So like you say, it's going to be interesting to see how if we do end up signing him on, how he'll adapt to having less time to do that. That's going to be the key, I think.
Yeah, and obviously the coaching staff and the team are gonna, have the best knowledge of that. Watching him in practice every day, but he played at the scrimmage, and he played against Minnesota as well because he was the one who put the corner in for Jacqueline's goal. Actually, so they're playing it to watch him.
That's something. It's interesting you mentioned that because that's something I'd like to see us get better at. Is getting goals from set pieces.
Yes.
We didn't have a whole lot of height in the team last year. We've got a bit more this year, so that is something I'd like to see us do more of.
Yeah. And that was something Adam and I talked about on the Facundo Torres video. Facundo Torres looks like he's going to win us a decent amount of free kicks in the attacking third.
Yeah, I already love that guy.
That is a very good ball. Wow. Look at the vision here. In between four people. That's a great ball. So Facundo Torres looks like he's going to win us a lot of free kicks in the attacking third. I really do want some set piece specialists, kind of like what Colorado has in Jack Price. To take advantage of those set pieces to get, like you said, a couple more goals on off of set pieces, because I think we're going to have quite a few chances and we need to take advantage of that.
Definitely.
So I think we're coming to the end of the video. Sorry, I was trying to see a striking ability.
That's another interesting clip as well, because that at first glance that cross looks like kind of just put it into an area and hope somebody runs onto it, but you see the little glance before he plays the ball in, just right there.
Yeah.
And that's such a good area. That is so hard to defend against when you put it into that area, because it's a sort of height where somebody could easily head it, they could volley it. It's an absolute nightmare. I used to play defender myself, obviously not to nowhere near a good as level as this, but they were the absolute worst crosses to deal with. Those ones that just hit straight in the middle of the 6-yard box. Mm-hmm. It just causes panic. Did for me anyway.
I mean, no, you're spot on. I think many professional players would do the same thing, would say the same thing, because when that ball is looping over your head and dipping down at the last second, there's nothing you can do but hope he miscontrols the header, or your defender behind you is there to be a nuisance. So it's definitely something to look at. So there's Nick Taylor. Any final thoughts on him before we head out?
No, nothing that we've not covered already. Like I say, he does look an exciting prospect, and I'm kind of just a bit surprised that he went so low down.
I think you were right though about his age.
Yeah,
I think that could have possibly been a factor, but because we look at these highlight clips and everyone obviously has access to Y-Scout now, and Y-Scout does have a college sector of Y-Scout that clubs, I'm sure MLS clubs pay for. So like they have this information, they have these players. I mean, you look at his stats, they're not bad. You're looking at, I think it said 3 goals, 9 assists in his season at UCF, and those are the types of players that you go, why does this player have this many goals and assists? I know he's a senior. And then they go and watch his Y-Scout and say, oh, like his technique looks good, left and right footed, can put in a dangerous cross. It does make you wonder why he fell so low.
You do kind of have to dig a little bit. I'd be interested to dig a little deeper in his stats because I feel like goals and assists sometimes at college can be a bit misleading, not just in terms of like the quality of your opponents, but also for a creative player like him, like how many chances has he created that haven't been taken?
Mm-hmm.
That I'd be interested.
Looks like quite a few.
That. Yeah,
just from the
quite
YouTube.
a few in those clips alone.
Yeah,
he's a player that excites me, to be honest. Because I kind of went in with a blank slate because I don't follow the college game a tremendous amount, So he was fairly new to me. So kind of just going over those clips, and I was kind of like, there's no slouch.
Yeah. He's my favorite of the three that we've picked from the draft. He is new to me obviously as well, but because I don't follow college soccer at all. But he's not new to the staff. Nick Taylor played with Pareja's son at SMU. And then he transferred to UCF, and obviously they go out and watch college games way more frequently than we do.
Yeah.
So he's someone that's most definitely been on Pareja's radar, and probably he's spoken to probably multiple times. I'm sure Pareja has spoken to Nick Taylor before. Maybe come and hang out with his son. So like they're friends. Maybe I don't know.
That's one thing we know with this front office is they are so meticulous in terms of they don't just scout players. I remember chatting to Ricardo Moreira about it ages ago when I did an interview, and he kind of said, we'll go to a game and we don't just focus on what they do while they're on the pitch. We look at what they do while they're sat on the bench. Are they slouching? Are they, do they look engaged? Are they trying to sort of motivate their teammates? What kind of person are they off the field? So that's one thing this front office does really well.
And I'm sure they do interviews with cousins or family members or friends or old teachers or anything they can get their hands on to get as much information as possible. So I'm sure they've done their bit with Nick Taylor, and there's room in the squad. We kind of moved on from Hope Gund, the draft picks last year. Pannenberg didn't work out. He didn't pan out. Sorry, Andrew Pannenberg. That was mean of me. Dodson's obviously not on the squad anymore either. Yeah. So there's 3 draft picks. Pannenberg wasn't on the squad anyways. But then Raul Aguilera's gone, and someone else I'm not thinking of as well, who was a youngster, maybe a homegrown. Name escapes me, but I think we've moved on pieces of the squad, and then obviously DK, Nani, Yuri Rosell, Chris Mueller have all left. I don't see any reason why our 3 draft picks will not be on the final squad unless they're just clearly not cut for professional soccer.
Yeah, I think this club kind of wants to go younger as well, which they'd obviously fit that remit. I know we spoke about Nick Taylor's age, but he is still young.
Yeah, he's 23, 24.
Yeah, especially, some of the names you mentioned there, Nani, Yuri, Rosell, obviously towards the end of their careers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about this season. I think we'll be more dynamic. I would like to see us kind of be a bit more fluid in that terms of formation. We seem pretty married to the 4-2-3-1 for the last 2 years. Whereas actually, I feel like if you can shift formation during a game, or from game to game or so on, you're a stronger side for it. And I feel like this squad's, it seems like from the outside, this squad's being set up to be a bit more flexible.
Mm-hmm. You're right. We're getting in player profiles who can play multiple positions, and my hope is that the front office and Oscar Pareja are aligned in that thinking of, okay, the front office is going out and getting the pieces to give Oscar Pareja the chance to mold them and use them as he sees fit.
Yeah.
But hopefully they're seeing, these are players that can play different formations and be more fluid, like you said. And Pareja then goes at it and does that with his players, and then the players go and do that on the field, sort of thing. I'm also very excited for the season. And going back to draft picks, I think all three make the team. So, Dan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me. And just one more time, where can our viewers find you at?
Yeah, so I'm at the English Line 1 on Twitter, and then theEnglishLine.net is the website. And then for any NWSL fans, head over to @SportingHer, and you can see some of the stuff I've written on, the NWSL, more broadly rather than just the Orlando Pride.
All right. Well, I know it's getting late over there in England for you. Dan is also a OC UK member, of course.
I am, yeah.
Yep. So thank you for loving the team across the pond, sort of thing. And you have a great rest of your night.
You too. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Vamos Orlando.
Spins right, comes back left, Nani shoots, oh my goodness, Louis Nani! Here goes Daryl DK at Wormhorn, DK shoots, scores! DK wins it for Orlando! The biggest man in